I'm Grace, and I'm 57 now, but the story I'm about to tell you started when I was just 32. I will never forget the day he, the father of my child, left my child and me because he knew our child had autism. He left for his lover and took all our money. It was a Tuesday, I remember that much. Aiden was 2 years and 3 months, with curls that smelled like baby shampoo and eyes that looked straight into your soul. He wasn't talking yet, not the way the book said he should. He'd line up his toy cars in perfect rows, wheels touching, and if I moved one, just an inch, he'd cry like the world had ended. I told myself every child is different, but deep down, I knew we needed answers. The pediatrician's office smelled like alcohol wipes and old magazines. Aiden sat on my lap, twisting the hem of my sweater between his fingers. The doctor, a kind woman with gray streaks in her braid, watched him for a long time. Then she closed her folder and said the words that still echo in my ears. "Mrs. Hale, your son is on the autism spectrum." Just like that. No sugar, no warning. My throat closed up. I heard the clock on the wall tick louder than my own heartbeat. I asked what it meant. She said therapy, early intervention, love, patience. She said it wasn't a death sentence. But in that moment, it felt like one. I carried Aiden out to the car, his little sneakers dangling against my hip. He was humming, the same 3 notes over and over, like a broken music box. I buckled him in, kissed his forehead, and drove home in a fog. All I could think was, how do I tell Marcus, my husband, the man who bragged at every family barbecue that the Hales had been proper for 3 generations? Spotless reputation, church every Sunday, framed law degree on the wall. How do you tell a man like that his only son might never say daddy the way he dreamed? Marcus was in the garage when we got home, polishing the chrome on his truck like it was more important than breathing. I left Aiden in the living room with his cars and walked out there, my hands shaking. "Marcus," I said, "the doctor says Aiden has autism." I waited for him to look up, to ask questions, to hold me. Instead, his rag stopped moving. His jaw tightened. He stared at the truck bumper like it had insulted him. Then he said, real quiet, "You sure they didn't mix up the tests?" I told him no. He threw the rag on the floor and walked past me into the house without another word. That night, he didn't come to dinner, not even a glance at the table I'd set with the good plates, hoping Normal might pull him back. I fed Aiden mashed peas and applesauce in his high chair, spooning slow while he gummed it, little fingers sticky. I wiped his chin with the soft cloth, sang the lullaby my own mama sang to me. "Hush now, baby, moon is high," voice cracking on the high notes. Aiden's eyes drooped, trusting, and I carried him to bed, tucked the blanket under his chin, kissed the curls that smelled like baby shampoo. The house was quiet, except for the low hum of the fridge and the occasional clink from the garage. I could smell the beer through the kitchen window, sharp and sour, drifting in like poison. When Aiden was finally asleep, I slipped on my shoes, heart pounding, and pushed open the garage door. Marcus was hunched over the workbench, 3 empty bottles in a perfect row like soldiers, a 4th cracked open in his fist. His eyes were red, swollen, but I couldn't tell if it was crying or the alcohol. Probably both, probably neither. The radio played low, some sports talk he didn't hear. "Talk to me," I said, voice small at first, then sharper when he didn't move. He laughed, bitter and sharp, the sound scraping my skin. "Talk? Grace, do you know what this means?" He swept an arm wide, knocking a wrench to the floor with a clang. "My father's golf buddies, my clients, they'll look at me like I failed, like I made a defective kid." Defective. The word hit me like a slap, hot across my face. My breath caught. "Don't you dare call him that," I whispered, stepping closer. "Aiden is perfect. He's ours." Marcus spun, face twisted, veins bulging. "Perfect? He can't even talk right, flapping like a bird, lining up toys? People will laugh, Grace, at me." He mocked Aiden's hand flaps, wrists limp, voice high and whiny. "Mama, cars in row." I lunged forward. "Stop it!" But he shoved me back. Not hard enough to bruise, but enough to stumble, my hip hitting the toolbox. "You think I want this? This retard in my house?" The word hung. Ugly. Forbidden. I froze, tears burning. "He's your son." Marcus slammed his fist on the metal table, bottles jumping. "Help costs money. Help costs time. Help costs me. My reputation. My future." He grabbed another beer, twisted the cap with teeth, spat it on the floor. "You deal with it. I'm done pretending." Then he turned his back, shoulders rigid, radio static filling the silence while I stood there, shaking, the word retard echoing like a bruise on my heart. The next few weeks were a slow freeze, each day colder than the last, my stomach knotting tighter every time the front door clicked shut behind him. Marcus stopped coming home for dinner. No, "How was your day?" No glance at the plates I still set for 3. He'd slip in after Aiden was down. Microwave leftovers without a word, eyes on his phone. In the mornings, if the baby was still asleep, he'd bend over the crib, plant a quick kiss on Aiden's forehead. Mechanical, like checking a box. But the second those blue eyes fluttered open, Marcus straightened fast, already reaching for his keys. "Work emergency," he'd mutter, or "Client lunch, can't be late." Door slammed before Aiden could even sit up. I'd stand in the hallway, heart sinking, watching the empty space where a father should have been. He moved to the guest room without discussion. I'd lie awake in our bed, sheets cold on his side, listening through the wall. His low whispers to Evelyn drifting like smoke. "It's not what we planned, Mom. A grandson who doesn't even look at me. It's not fair." Fair. The word scraped my raw nerves. Fair? Like life had ever promised him fair, while I wiped spit up at 2 a.m., while I learned every therapy trick with my own hands shaking from exhaustion. I pressed my pillow over my ears, but the whispers kept coming, his voice small and wounded, as if he were the victim. But here's what broke my heart into 1,000 jagged pieces. The pictures. Every Sunday, like clockwork, Marcus transformed. He'd shave close, splash on cologne that stung my eyes, button the crisp shirt I'd ironed. "Family photo time," he'd chirp, voice bright as plastic. He'd lift Aiden onto his shoulders, Aiden stiff, confused, staring at clouds or flapping hands in rhythm. "Smile, buddy," Marcus would coax, teeth flashing for the camera, while Aiden's face stayed blank, lost in his own world. Snap, snap, snap. Then the phone was up, filters applied, caption typed, "Blessed beyond measure with my little man." Dad life, sar proud papa, as family first. Likes poured in, hundreds, heart emojis from coworkers. "You're an inspiration, Mark." Meanwhile, at home, he wouldn't change a single diaper, wouldn't hold Aiden through a meltdown, wouldn't even learn the word echolalia when the speech therapist explained, patient and kind, why Aiden echoed movie lines instead of yes or no. Marcus just nodded, eyes on his watch, then asked if therapy could be streamlined. I'd stand there, arms full of laundry, throat burning with words I swallowed. Look at him. Really look. But he never did. The perfect father online, the stranger in our house. I started noticing little things. My good earrings went missing. The emergency cash in the cookie jar was gone. Marcus said he needed it for work expenses. I believed him because I wanted to, because I was still the wife who ironed his shirts and packed his lunch with a love note every day. But the truth was creeping in like damp rot. One evening, I came home from the grocery store to find Aiden's toy train. The red one he carried everywhere, smashed on the driveway. Tire marks right through it. Marcus's truck was gone. I picked up the pieces, my hands shaking so hard I dropped the milk. Aiden saw me from the window and started rocking, a low whine building in his throat. I ran inside, held him, promised I'd glue the train back together. But some things, once broken, don't fit the same. That night, I found Marcus in the bedroom, folding clothes into a duffel bag. Not just a weekend trip's worth, everything. His good suits, his cufflinks, the monogrammed towels his mother gave us for our wedding. My stomach dropped. "Marcus, what are you doing?" He didn't look at me, just kept packing, neat and slow, like he'd rehearsed it. "I can't do this, Grace. I can't watch him like that every day. It's killing me." I begged. I cried. I reminded him of our vows, sickness and health, richer or poorer. He zipped the bag and finally met my eyes. "You'll be better off without me dragging you down," he said. Then he walked out the door, leaving the smell of his cologne and the echo of his footsteps. I stood there in the hallway, Aiden's soft snores drifting from his room, and I knew, this is only the beginning. Little did I know, Marcus wasn't just leaving. He was about to take everything we had left. But Aiden? Oh, my little Aiden, he didn't understand. He kept being ignored, not understanding what's happening, and that's what hurt the most. "Come closer. Let me tell you how the man I once loved tried to erase us completely." The morning after Marcus left, I woke up to an empty closet and a note on the kitchen counter. "I need space. Don't call." That was it. No goodbye to his son, no explanation. I crumpled the paper, my hands shaking as I made Aiden his oatmeal. He sat in his high chair, lining up 3 Cheerios in a perfect row, humming that same 3-note tune. I kissed the top of his head and told myself we'd be okay. But then I opened the laptop to pay the mortgage, and my heart stopped. Our joint account, every penny I'd scraped together for Aiden's therapy, the emergency fund, even the grocery money, was gone. 0. Drained clean. I called the bank in a panic. They said Marcus had withdrawn it all the day before, in cash. He took the car too, our only car, the one with Aiden's car seat still buckled in the back. And when I went to grab my purse for my ID to report it stolen, my birth certificate, my social security card, our marriage license, gone. He'd taken them like he was wiping his name off our lives. I sat on the floor right there in the hallway, Aiden toddling over to pat my cheek with his sticky fingers. "Mama sad?" he asked, the words slurred, but clear enough to break me. I pulled him close and promised him the world, even though I didn't know how to give it. That afternoon, I called the therapy center to confirm Aiden's next speech session. The lady on the phone was kind, but firm. "Mrs. Hale, the insurance denied the claim. It says the policy was suspended last week." Suspended? I hadn't touched it. I dug through the mail and found a letter dated 2 weeks earlier. Marcus had filed to cancel Aiden's coverage, effective immediately. No warning, no discussion. The therapies that cost hundreds a session were now out of pocket, and the money he stole was supposed to pay for the next 3 months. I hung up the phone and just stared at the wall, the numbers spinning in my head like a bad dream. Days blurred after that. I kept waiting for Marcus to come back, to realize what he'd done. But he didn't. One evening, I heard Aiden's little footsteps padding to the front door. I found him sitting on the welcome mat, hugging Marcus's brown loafers, the ones he'd left behind on purpose, scuffed and muddy. Aiden rocked back and forth, clutching those shoes to his chest like they were a teddy bear. "Gotta come," he whispered, over and over. 20 minutes he sat there, the sun setting, his curls glowing orange in the light. I knelt beside him, my knees cracking, and tried to explain. "Dada's gone, baby. It's just us now." But how do you tell a 2-year-old his father chose to disappear? Aiden didn't cry. He just kept rocking, the shoes getting tighter in his grip. I carried him inside when it got dark, his body limp against mine. And that night, he wouldn't let go of one shoe even in his sleep. A week later, the mail brought the final blow. A thick envelope from a lawyer's office. I opened it with Aiden on my lap, his fingers tracing the edges of the paper. Inside was a document, Marcus renouncing his parental rights. Signed, notarized, cold as ice. He didn't want custody, didn't want visitation, didn't want anything to do with his son. There was a line about irreconcilable differences in family vision that made me laugh until I cried. I folded the paper and tucked it away, but not before Aiden saw the photo clipped to it, Marcus smiling in a suit, like he was proud of walking away. I held my boy and whispered, "You're enough for me," even though my voice cracked. But Marcus wasn't done hurting us. Word started trickling back through mutual friends. Then Evelyn, his mother, who called me sobbing one night. Marcus had been telling everyone. Aiden was so severely disabled he couldn't be taught, that I was mentally unstable and keeping him from getting help. He told his coworkers I'd driven him away with my obsession over a child who'd never be normal. He even showed them fake doctor's notes, said Aiden had violent outbursts I was hiding. Lies, all of it. Thanks to those stories, he moved to another state, remarried some woman named Lydia within a year, and started a new life like we'd never existed. Evelyn begged my forgiveness, said she'd raised him better, but her tears couldn't put food on our table or get Aiden to therapy. I stood in our quiet house that night, the renunciation paper burning a hole in my drawer, and faced the truth. No money, no car, no help. Aiden needed me more than ever, and I had nothing left to give but my own 2 hands. The mother begins endless years of exhausting labor to save her son. And let me tell you, those years felt like carrying a mountain on my back while the world kept adding stones. Marcus was gone, the bank empty, insurance canceled, and next month's therapy bill staring me down like a monster. But Aiden's eyes, those big, trusting eyes, kept me moving. One foot, then the other. For him. I took the first job I could find. Night shift at the supermarket on the edge of town. The one with the flickering neon sign that buzzed like a dying insect. 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., pushing carts through empty parking lots, stocking shelves with canned beans, while my back screamed, mopping sticky floors that smelled of spilled beer and broken dreams. I'd smile at the late-night drunks who stumbled in for cigarettes, their eyes glazed, never noticing the tears I wiped away in the freezer aisle, hiding behind towers of frozen pizzas so no one saw me break. The manager, Mr. Ruiz, a gruff man with a mustache like steel wool, would bark, "Grace, faster! We open in 2 hours!" Even though I was the only one there. The pay was barely above minimum, $13 an hour, but sometimes he'd slip me an extra 20 in cash under the table if I stayed late to clean the deli slicer, grease burning my forearms. I needed every dime, counted them in the dim light of the break room, fingers numb from the cold. When that shift ended, the sky still dark, I'd rush home on the late bus that smelled of vomit and wet seats, clutching my purse like a lifeline. I'd creep into our tiny apartment, the one with the leaky faucet that dripped all night, and kiss Aiden's sleeping forehead, his curls damp with sweat, breathing soft and even under the threadbare blanket. For a moment, I'd linger, memorizing his face, whispering, "Mama's fighting for you, baby." Then, no time to rest, I'd change into my cleaning uniform, faded scrubs from the thrift store, and head out again at 3 a.m. to the office buildings downtown, a cluster of glass towers where suits made 6 figures and left their messes for people like me. The cleaning crew was small. Me, Maria, the single mom from Guatemala who hummed hymns while she dusted, and old Mr. Jenkins who coughed through every shift but needed the work for his wife's medicine. We'd split the floors, my section always the executive suites with their marble bathrooms, vacuuming under desks piled with forgotten reports, scrubbing toilets that grown men couldn't aim for, streaks of yellow on porcelain, pubic hairs stuck to the seat like insults. I'd gag on the bleach fumes, eyes watering, but kept scrubbing on my knees, the hard tile biting into my bones, emptying trash cans full of half-eaten lunches, sushi gone bad, coffee cups with lipstick stains, crumpled notes about mergers and affairs. My hands cracked and bled from the harsh chemicals, skin splitting like dry earth, raw and stinging with every plunge into the bucket. I'd wrap them in plastic bags from the store, the kind that rustled too loud, taping them with whatever I could find, and kept going, because stopping meant Aiden missed therapy, meant another day without progress. Some mornings, the exhaustion hit like a wave crashing over me. I'd finish the last bathroom, the clock ticking past 5, and slump onto the cold tile floor in a stranger's break room, head thumping against the humming vending machine that glowed with snacks I couldn't afford. My eyes would close for what felt like a second, but 10 minutes later, I'd jolt awake, heart pounding, drool on my chin, Maria shaking my shoulder. "Grace, Mija, the bus is coming. You'll miss Aiden." I'd stumble up, legs like jelly, wipe my face with a rough paper towel, and run out into the pre-dawn chill, the city still asleep while I fought to keep my boy's future alive. I'd wake with a start, heart racing, terrified I'd missed picking Aiden up from the sitter. One time I did doze off too long and arrived late to therapy. Aiden sat on the steps, rocking, his little backpack clutched tight. The therapist gave me that look, pity mixed with worry, and I promised myself it wouldn't happen again. But it did. More times than I can count. Without the car, every trip to the therapy center was a 30-minute walk each way, sometimes twice a day. I'd bundle Aiden in his stroller when he was little, then hold his hand as he grew. The route took us past busy roads, barking dogs, construction noise that made him scream. On hot days, the sun beat down like fire. Aiden would cover his ears, eyes squeezed shut, body rigid from all the sensations crashing in. I'd drape my old jacket, elbows worn through, over his head like a tent, whispering, "Almost there, baby. Mama's got you." Sweat poured down my back, but I kept us moving. When the rains came, heavy and sudden, we'd huddle under store awnings if we were lucky. Most times, we just pulled plastic grocery bags over our heads and shoes, laughing through chattering teeth because what else could we do? Aiden's socks squished, my shoes leaked, but we made it. Every single time. Therapy was his lifeline, and I wasn't letting go. Money got so tight some months I had to choose, lights or heat. One winter, the electric bill went unpaid too long. They shut it off. No lights, no stove, no heater. The house dropped to freezing. Aiden clung to me under our one thin blanket, his small body trembling against mine. I held him close, rubbing his back, breathing warm air onto his neck. "Mama's here," I'd whisper, over and over. We slept, curled like puppies, my arms aching from holding him all night. In the morning, frost on the inside of the windows, I'd boil water on a camping stove a neighbor lent me, make oatmeal with powdered milk, and we'd eat by flashlight. Aiden never complained. He'd just look at me with those eyes and say, "Warm now, Mama?" And I'd lie, say yes, because the truth would break him. Then one night, the phone rang late, the old landline jangling like a ghost in the silent house. Aiden was finally asleep on the couch, his small chest rising and falling under the blanket we shared for warmth. I stumbled to answer, my voice hoarse from whispering prayers. It was Evelyn, Marcus's mother, her words tumbling out before I could even say hello. Her voice cracked right away, raw and broken. "Grace, I can't sleep, knowing what my son did. I lie awake staring at the ceiling, seeing your face, seeing that baby's face, and it burns me." She sobbed, the kind of deep, ugly crying that comes from the gut, choking on every breath. "I'm ashamed, Grace. Ashamed I raised a boy who could walk away from his own flesh and blood like it was nothing. Like you and Aiden were trash he could just toss out." I sat on the cold floor, rocking Aiden gently even though he was asleep, his head heavy on my shoulder, his curls tickling my neck. Evelyn kept going, her words spilling like poison she'd held too long. "I believed him at first, you know. When he called me crying, saying you were unstable, that the boy was too much, that he had to leave to save himself, I defended him to my bridge club, to the church ladies, told them my Marcus was a good man caught in a bad situation. But then I saw the papers, Grace, the ones where he signed away his rights like he was returning a library book. And I knew I'd failed as a mother. Failed you. Failed that sweet grandson I barely got to hold." Her shame poured through the line, thick and suffocating. I see his face in the mirror sometimes, and I want to smash it. How could I raise someone so selfish, so cruel? He cut me off when I asked questions, said I was taking your side, blocked my number, changed his address, left me with nothing but guilt and a box of baby clothes I never got to give Aiden. I sit in my apartment, pension check barely covering rent and pills, and I think, if I'd been a better mother to Marcus, Maybe he wouldn't have abandoned his own child. Maybe he'd have stayed and fought like a man instead of running like a coward. She apologized over and over, voice trembling, for Marcus, for believing his lies, for not seeing through him sooner. "If I could help, I would," she whispered. "I'd sell my wedding ring, my mother's china, anything. But I'm old, Grace, and broke, and he took that from me too." Her crying turned to hiccups, then silence, just the sound of her breathing, ragged and defeated. I thanked her softly, told her it wasn't her fault, but the words felt hollow, even to me. I hung up, slid down the wall, and cried silent tears into Aiden's hair so he wouldn't wake and hear. Apologies don't fill empty bellies or empty futures. And Marcus, he slept soundly somewhere, warm and fed, while his own mother drowned in the shame he left behind. But through it all, something started shifting in Aiden. Little things at first. He'd stare at the puzzle on the table, then fit pieces together faster than I could, or repeat a whole book after one reading. I thought it was just him growing. But one day, Aiden begins showing signs far beyond typical children. We were still scraping by, shoes worn thin. But something was shifting in my boy, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds after years of rain. I saw it first on a quiet afternoon that changed everything. Aiden was 6, sitting cross-legged on the threadbare carpet in our living room, the one with the burn mark from when the space heater tipped. His therapist had left a stack of worksheets, middle school level, fractions and algebra she used for older kids. I'd kept them thinking, maybe one day. Aiden picked one up, his small fingers tracing the numbers. "Mama, look," he said, voice soft but sure. I knelt beside him, expecting him to color or stack them. Instead, he grabbed a crayon and solved the first problem in under a minute. Then the next. Equations that stumped teenagers flowed from his hand like water. I checked his answers against the key. Perfect. Every one. My heart pounded. "How did you—" I whispered. He just shrugged, flapped his hands once, and moved to the next page. In 10 minutes, he'd finished a packet meant for a month. I hugged him so tight he squeaked, tears mixing with laughter. My boy, the one doctors said might never speak in sentences, was solving math like it was a game. A few months later, we were at the community center for a free music class, anything to give Aiden new sounds without costing a dime. The teacher played Clair de Lune on an old upright piano, the notes floating sad and beautiful. Aiden stood frozen, eyes wide, rocking on his toes. When it ended, he climbed onto the bench, tiny legs dangling, and placed his hands on the keys. I thought he'd bang randomly, but no, he played it back. Every note, every pause, flawless. The room went silent. The teacher, Ms. Lopez, dropped her sheet music. "Did he just—" She gasped. Aiden finished, turned to me with a grin and said, "Pretty, Mama." I cried right there on the bench, holding him while parents stared. That night, I lay awake listening to him hum the melody in his sleep, wondering what else was locked inside that brilliant mind. By 8, Aiden's name was whispered in math circles. His therapist entered him in the National Mathematics Championship, said he qualified despite his age. We took a rattling bus across state lines, me in my one good dress from the thrift store, Aiden in a button-up 2 sizes too big. The hall was packed with kids in blazers, parents with fancy cameras. Aiden sat at his table, headphones on to block the noise, and flew through rounds. Finals came down to him and a high school senior. The problem flashed on screen. Complex patterns, variables dancing. Aiden's fingers moved like lightning. Buzzer sounded. He won. The entire hall erupted in a standing ovation, cheers echoing off the rafters. Aiden looked at me, confused by the noise, but I ran to him, lifted him high. "You did it, baby," reporters swarmed, questions flying. I shielded him, proud but terrified. This was big, too big for our quiet life. Weeks later, a letter arrived from the Gifted Academy downtown. Full scholarship for Aiden, tuition, books, even transportation. They'd heard about the championship, seen his scores. Prodigy potential, it said. I read it 3 times, hands shaking. Aiden would have teachers who understood him, resources we'd only dreamed of. We visited the campus, marble halls, and kids debating quantum physics in the courtyard. Aiden's eyes lit up at the math lab. I signed the papers with a pen that felt like gold. Then the phone started ringing. Local news wanted an interview. Autistic boy genius overcomes odds. A reporter showed up at our door, camera ready. "Just a few questions, ma'am." I hesitated, but Aiden tugged my sleeve. "It's okay, Mama." The story aired that night. Our walks in the rain, the cold nights, his quiet triumphs. Calls poured in, offers for tutors, donations for therapy. I was proud, chest swelling every time someone said his name with awe. I should have listened to that fear, because Aiden's information unexpectedly spreads across news outlets. The man who abandoned them starts resurfacing. And oh, how it turned my stomach. Aiden's story was everywhere. Newspapers, local TV, even a viral clip online. I thought the attention might bring good things, help for his future. But it brought a ghost I'd buried 6 years deep. It started with emails I didn't recognize, popping up in my inbox like weeds after rain. The subject lines were all business. Sponsorship opportunity for Prodigy Aiden Hale. Brand partnership inquiry. Media appearance proposal. But everyone addressed to Mr. Marcus Hale, manager. My stomach twisted before I even clicked. I opened the first, heart sinking so fast I had to grip the kitchen counter. There was Aiden's championship photo, his shy smile, medal around his neck, next to a bio I'd never written. 8-year-old math genius, overcoming adversity with dedicated parental support. At the bottom, bold as brass. Contact Marcus Hale for bookings, appearances, and exclusive family interviews. He'd scraped every article, every quote, pieced together a slick packet like he was selling a celebrity. Energy drink companies wanted Aiden on cans. Fuel for young minds. A math app offered endorsement deals. Even a kids' clothing line, Dress Your Little Genius, all routed through Marcus, the man who'd never bought Aiden a single pair of shoes that fit. I deleted it, hands shaking. But the next day, 3 more landed. Then 5. He'd built a whole pitch deck, slides with Aiden's face, fake quotes like, "My dad taught me perseverance," in Aiden's voice. Calling himself the manager, like he'd ever managed a meltdown in a grocery store. A therapy session paid with my blood and tears. A single sleepless night rocking Aiden through sensory storms. He was shopping my son like a product, a shiny toy he could profit from, without one word to me, without ever asking if Aiden even remembered his face. The academy secretary, Mrs. Delgado, a kind widow who'd taken a shine to Aiden, called me that afternoon, voice tight. "Grace, I just got an email from this Marcus Hale. Says he's Aiden's father and manager, wants to schedule press junkets during school hours, attached a contract for signature. I thought you should see." She forwarded it. Same packet, now with a logo he'd designed, a cartoon brain with Hale Prodigy Management underneath. Mrs. Delgado whispered, "Honey, is this man for real? He's demanding I route all media through him or he'll escalate." I told her the truth, voice cracking, showed her the renunciation papers again. She gasped, "That snake," and blocked him on the spot. But the frustration burned. What the hell was Marcus doing, hijacking my child's life from hundreds of miles away, bold as daylight, like the past 6 years of abandonment were just a coffee break? I kept deleting, kept blocking, but he was relentless, shameless, turning Aiden's hard-won light into his grimy spotlight. Then the calls at his work started trickling back to me through old mutual friends, the kind who still nodded politely when our names came up. First it was Tom, the accountant who'd golfed with Marcus years ago. He rang one evening while I was folding Aiden's laundry. "Grace, you won't believe this. Marcus is strutting around the office like a peacock, feet on his desk, tie loosened, telling everyone, I sacrificed everything to raise a genius. Nights without sleep, endless therapy drives. People don't see the behind-the-scenes grind." Tom laughed awkwardly, then caught himself. "He said you two were a team. But he carried the heavy load, showed us pictures of the kid with the medal. Sacrifice? The man who left Aiden waiting with his shoes? Who took our last dollar and never looked back? I gripped the phone so tight my knuckles went white. A week later, Sarah from HR called, voice hushed like she was sharing contraband. He cornered the whole department at lunch, passed his phone around, articles, videos, that championship clip, said, "That's my boy." Homeschooled him through the autism, pushed him past limits no one else saw. One of the new guys actually clapped him on the back and said, "You're Father of the Year, Mark?" Sarah paused. "Grace, he's got a framed photo on his desk now, Aiden at the podium. Caption says, 'Proud Dad Moment.'" I felt the rage crawl up my throat, hot and sour. Evelyn rang the next night, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. I heard it from Linda in accounting. She still forwards me the office newsletter. Marcus sent a company-wide email. Subject line, "Proud Dad Moment." Links to every story, a whole paragraph about how he never gave up on his special needs son. He's telling them he paid for private tutors, drove Aiden to competitions at 4 a.m., cried with him over meltdowns. Lying to their faces, Grace, saying he homeschooled Aiden through the tough years, that you were too emotional to handle it alone. Her voice broke. My own co-workers think I'm proud of him. I had to leave the break room. I hung up, slid down the kitchen cabinets onto the linoleum, knees to my chest, rage boiling so hot I had to press my face into a dish towel so Aiden wouldn't hear the scream clawing out of me. Marcus, warm in his corner office, bonus checks rolling in, was stealing the nights I'd worked until my hands bled, the mornings I'd carried Aiden through rain, the years he'd erased with a signature, and they believed him. They believed him. One afternoon, a package arrived at the academy. No return address, just my name scrawled in Marcus's familiar sharp handwriting that still made my skin crawl. The secretary handed it over with raised eyebrows. I tore it open in the hallway. Aiden waiting by the water fountain. Inside, folded neat as a thread, a bright blue t-shirt, cheap cotton, bold white letters screaming, "Dad of a Genius" across the chest like a billboard. A sticky note stuck to it. "Wear this Saturday. Family photo op. M." I stared, bile rising so fast I gagged, shoved it back in the box and hid it in my bag before Aiden saw. That man, sending clothes to a school he'd never visited, acting like he dressed my son every morning. That weekend was press day for Aiden's scholarship announcement. Cameras clustered outside the wrought iron gates, kids in crisp uniforms posing with oversized certificates, parents beaming. I'd spent an hour that morning ironing Aiden's one good shirt, brushing his curls, whispering, "Just smile for the pictures, baby. Then we go home." We stepped through the gates hand in hand, my palms sweaty around his small fingers. The crowd parted, flashes popping. Then I saw him, Marcus, leaning against the marble pillar like he owned the place, that garish blue shirt stretched across his belly, grinning wide enough to show the gold cap on his tooth. He'd slicked his hair back, wore new sneakers, and held a coffee cup with Aiden's face printed on it, some custom mug he must have ordered overnight. Before I could turn, he boomed across the courtyard, "There's my champ!" Head swiveled. He strode over, arms wide, voice carrying like a carnival barker. "Come to Daddy, Aiden. Big day for the Hale family." Aiden froze, eyes darting, then flinched hard when Marcus tried to drape a heavy arm around his shoulders. My son ducked behind me, clutching my skirt, a low whine starting in his throat. I stepped forward, blocking with my body. "Get away from us!" I hissed, voice shaking. Marcus just chuckled, posed for the cameras anyway, one hand raised in a thumbs up. "Camera shy, huh? He gets that from his mom." Flashbulbs exploded. Marcus front and center, shirt blazing, me half-turned, shielding Aiden like a criminal caught in the act. The photo hit the local paper's website by evening. Prodigy's proud father celebrates milestone. Comments poured in. "What a dedicated dad." "Family goals." He must have worked so hard. I sat at the kitchen table, scrolling on my cracked phone, each word a knife. Aiden rocked in the corner, headphones on, humming to calm himself. Marcus was stealing the light we'd earned in the dark, and the world was clapping for the thief. My cheeks burned with shame I hadn't earned, discomfort twisting my gut like a fist. How dare he stand where my blood and tears had paved the path? It didn't stop. My phone buzzed with notifications, connection requests on professional sites, Marcus to Aiden's math coach, let's collaborate on his training, to the piano teacher, as Aiden's father, I'd love updates, to the journalist who interviewed us, happy to provide family insights, each one polite, professional, branding himself the Prodigy's father. He even made a profile picture, him in a suit, Aiden's championship medal photoshopped onto his chest. Teachers forwarded them to me, confused. Thought you were single, Grace, I explained, voice trembling, showed the renunciation papers. They blocked him, but the damage crawled. Marcus was rewriting history, painting himself the hero who never gave up. He wanted the glory without the grit, the praise without the pain. Every lie was a slap to the nights I cried over bills, the walks in rain, the cold floors. Aiden didn't know this man, yet Marcus acted entitled to his shine. I was proud of my boy, terrified of this shadow creeping in. And then, at Aiden's next big competition, Marcus suddenly appears in person. It felt like the devil himself walked back into our lives. Marcus was at that competition, bold as brass, and from then on, he wouldn't stay away. He wanted Aiden's fame, the money rolling in, and he'd trample us to get it. He started showing up at every event. Math meets, piano recitals, even the academy's open house. Like a vulture circling fresh meat, flashy suits, 2 shades too bright, tie knotted loose, too much cologne wafting ahead of him like a warning cloud. Always that phone ready, thumb hovering over record. At the regional tournament, Aiden up on stage under hot lights, chalk dust on his fingers, solving equations faster than the timer could blink. Marcus barreled through the aisle. "Move, proud dad coming through!" he bellowed, elbowing a grandmother so hard she dropped her purse, shouldering past a father recording his own kid. He vaulted the barrier rope, planted himself beside Aiden for the winner's photo, meaty hand clamping my son's narrow shoulder like he'd earned the right. Aiden stiffened, eyes flicking to me in panic, but the flash popped and he forced a smile. Marcus grinned, wider than the trophy, later posted it everywhere. Father-son victory lap. Proud dad, Ars Genius bloodline. The next recital was worse. Aiden at the grand piano, tiny hands poised over Claire de Lune. I sat front row clutching the program. Marcus slid in late, shoes squeaking, wedged his bulk between us on the narrow bench. The seat groaned. He leaned across me, breath hot with mints and whiskey, whispering loud enough for 3 rows to hear. "Play for daddy, champ. Make me look good." Aiden's fingers faltered on the first notes. I grabbed his sleeve, yanked him closer to me, but Marcus just laughed, phone already up, live streaming. "See? Shy around the old man. Normal kid stuff." The video hit 1,000 views before the piece ended, comments gushing about supportive father. I hissed, "Get out!" But he only smirked, eyes hard. "Touch me, Grace, and I'll have you arrested for assault in front of all these witnesses. Try explaining that to child services." Afterward, in the lobby, I cornered him by the punch table. "Stay away from us." My voice shook. He stepped closer, towering, finger jabbing my collarbone. "You don't tell me where I can be when it's my sun shining. One word to the press about you keeping me from him, and I'll bury you. I'll say you're unstable, violent. Hell, I'll say you hit me right now if you raise your voice again." His smile never reached his eyes. "I've got money for lawyers, Grace. You've got nothing. Push me, and I'll use force. Cops, courts, whatever it takes. Aiden's mine when I say he is." Parents milled around, pretending not to hear, but I felt every stare. My hands trembled. I couldn't risk a scene, couldn't risk Aiden seeing me dragged away. I swallowed the scream, pulled my boy close, and walked out with Marcus's laughter echoing behind us. He'd made sure I was too scared to fight back in public. Yet, Aiden didn't understand at first. Then one afternoon at the park playground, therapist said fresh air helped. He froze, mid-swing. Mama, strange man. Marcus stood by the fence, waving like an old friend. Aiden's eyes went wide, body rocking hard, hands over ears. He bolted to me, burying his face in my stomach, whimpering loud enough the heads turned. No, no, go away, he cried, the words jumbled but clear in panic. I held him tight, glaring at Marcus. Leave us alone. He just smirked. He'll get used to me. Aiden trembled all the way home, wouldn't let go of my hand even in bed. That night, he wet the sheets, first time in years, mumbling about the strange man in nightmares. It got worse. One evening, macaroni bubbling on the stove, our little ritual, the doorbell rang. I peeked, Marcus on the porch, takeout bags in hand like he was welcome. Family dinner time? He called through the window, peering in, face pressed to glass. Aiden dropped his spoon, eyes huge. Mama, hide. I locked the door, pulled curtains, but Marcus knocked harder. Grace, open up. I have a right to see my son. We need to talk custody, shared fame, shared profits. He rattled on about lawyers, how Aiden's brand needed both parents. I shouted through the door, You signed him away. He laughed. Things change when money's involved. Aiden burst into tears, rocking under the table. Marcus finally left, but the food smelled burned, our peace shattered. He didn't stop at showing up. Next week, strange clicks outside. Photographers in bushes, long lenses aimed at our windows. One caught Aiden at breakfast, me helping with puzzles. Another of us walking to the bus, my arm around him. Marcus sent the prints to my door. Evidence you're alienating me. Courts love family bonding. He'd hired them to stalk us, twist normal moments into proof I was interfering with parental rights. A shot of me hugging Aiden after a bad day became overly controlling mother. I confronted one photographer, young kid, embarrassed. Guy paid cash, said, document the abuse. Abuse? The word made me sick. Then the letters came, from the academy, child services, anonymous tips. Mother forces child into competitions for personal gain. Boy shows signs of exhaustion, coercion. Quotes from concerned citizens about Aiden looking pushed too hard, all traced back to Marcus's email patterns teachers recognized. He wanted parental rights for the fame, the money, scholarship perks, endorsement checks. He'd reclaim Aiden on paper, parade him for profit. Leave the hard parts to me again. One night, he called, voice slick. Sign shared custody, Grace, or I sue. I'll take him full time. Better schools. My money. You can't fight me. Marcus threatens to sue for custody. I decides to strike back, and that decision came the night Marcus threatened custody over the phone. I was bone-tired, poor as dirt, but I wasn't letting him take my boy. Not for fame, not for money. I'd fight with everything left in me. First thing next morning, I scraped together the last of a donation jar from the academy parents, $300 in crumpled bills and coins. I walked to the free legal aid clinic downtown, Aiden's hand in mine. The lawyer, Ms. Rivera, listened quiet while I poured it out. The abandonment, the renunciation papers, the harassment. I slid across the table every document Marcus once signed, the parental rights termination, the insurance cancellation, bank statements showing the drained account. She flipped through, eyes narrowing. This is ironclad, Grace. He has no legal leg. But Marcus had money for fancy attorneys. I had truth and blisters. She took the case pro bono, said, We'll bury him in his own lies. I cried, right there, Aiden patting my knee. Back home, I turned our little house into a quiet war room. Phone always on silent, tucked deep in my apron pocket during his porch rants. Marcus pacing the cracked concrete, voice booming through the screen door. Open up, Grace, or I'll have the courts rip him from you. You think you can keep my son from the world? Clear as day, every slur and threat caught on the mic, his confusion growing each time I didn't answer. He'd bang harder, confused why the police never came when he screamed, why I just stood inside, finger on record. The dinnertime pounding became routine, fists rattling the knob, his face smeared against the window like a Halloween mask. Eyes wild. Aiden's panicked cries sliced the air. "Mama, make him stop," while I whispered, "It's okay, baby," voice shaking but firm. "You gave him up, Marcus. Signed it yourself." I'd borrowed a doorbell cam from Mrs. Lee. Its grainy night vision caught his silhouette looming, breath fogging the glass, muttering curses when lights stayed off. I dated each file the second it ended. Timestamp, location, what Aiden wore, how long he cried after. Stored on a $5 thumb drive, I kept in a cereal box so Aiden wouldn't find it and relive the fear. When Marcus started tailing us to the bus stop, shiny rental car idling half a block back, I'd sling my purse low, phone angled through the zipper. "Shared profits, Grace. That scholarship money's half mine," he'd yell across the street, confusing morning commuters who slowed to stare. I caught every word, every honk he ignored, every time he revved the engine like a threat. One morning, he jumped the curb, tires squealing. The bus driver, Mr. Patel, braked hard. "Lady, you okay?" he asked, pity in his eyes. I nodded, tears hot, phone still rolling. Exhaustion wasn't just tired. It was bone deep, a constant hum under my skin. Nights blurred into 3 a.m. Editing sessions, bleary-eyed at the kitchen table, slicing clips, labeling, Harassment 003 14 Aiden crying .wav. Days at the supermarket, I'd nod off between stocking shelves, manager snapping, "Grace, wake up." I'd smile weak, apologize, hide in the bathroom to cry silent so coworkers wouldn't see. The cashier, Tina, started slipping me extra breaks, whispering, "We heard him yelling last week. You poor thing." Even the security guard, Big Joe with the limp, walked me to the bus after dark. "Anybody bothers you again? You call me," he said, pressing a crumpled 20 into my hand for coffee. Neighbors left casseroles on the step, Mrs. Lee's tuna noodle, Mr. Thompson's chili, notes tucked under. "We're praying for you, honey. That man's trouble." Aiden stopped sleeping through the night, waking to check locks, asking, "Is the strange man coming?" I'd hold him till dawn, then drag myself to work, makeup hiding the purple under my eyes. Friends from Aiden's therapy group texted, "Saw him at the park again. You need anything? We're here." Pity wrapped around me like a shawl I didn't want but couldn't shake. Marcus was unraveling, confused why his screams didn't break me, why the neighborhood closed ranks, why his money couldn't buy silence. But every recording, every tear, every exhausted step was another brick in the wall I'd build to keep my son safe. Evidence wasn't just my weapon. It was my lifeline. The neighbors had seen enough. Mr. Thompson next door knocked one evening, hat in hand. "That man's a menace, Grace. Yelling at all hours, scaring the kids." He'd called the police twice on the disturbances, reports I now had. Mrs. Lee across the street brought cookies and a statement. He parked blocking my driveway, peered in windows for 20 minutes. The whole block volunteered. Signatures, dates, photos of his car lurking. "We'll testify," they said. "He's polluting the neighborhood." Their kindness kept me standing when my legs wanted to fold. I stayed up nights compiling the report for court, page after page of Marcus's neglect, the therapy bills he never paid, Aiden waiting with shoes, the cold months without heat, screenshots of his lies online, the anonymous accusations traced to his IP, medical records showing Aiden's progress without him. I typed until my fingers cramped, poor and running on coffee, while Marcus hired big city lawyers flashing retainers I couldn't dream of. They sent thick envelopes, demands for custody evaluations, claims I was unfit. Ms. Rivera laughed them off, but the stack grew. I was exhausted, pockets empty, but the file was a fortress. One evening, staring at the mountain of proof, I knew courts alone might drag forever. Marcus's money could stall us into ruin. I had to hit harder, faster. She decides to go public with the truth. Media exposure will change the entire game, and it did. Like a storm breaking over dry ground, I'd gathered every scrap of truth, and now it was time to let the world see the monster. The article dropped on a Tuesday morning, 7:03 a.m. sharp, pinned to the front page of the biggest online news site in the state. The Daily Beacon, 500,000 daily readers. The headline screamed in bold, "The man who abandoned his autistic son returns when the boy becomes a genius." I'd sat with the journalist, Sarah Klein, for 3 hours the week before, kitchen table cluttered with files. My words, raw and shaking at first, poured out. Every sleepless night, every walked mile, every tear. She recorded it all, then matched it to the evidence. Renunciation papers yellowed at the edges, bank statements with red withdrawal stamps, therapy receipts stamped paid in cash. Photos side by side. Aiden at 2, curls wild, clutching Marcus's muddy shoes on the welcome mat, eyes wide with waiting. Aiden at 8, metal gleaming under stage lights, my proud arm around his narrow shoulders. Sarah quoted me quietly but clearly, my voice steady in print. "He left us to drown. Now he wants the glory. Aiden earned every inch of this. I just kept him breathing." I'd chosen Sarah carefully. Her last piece exposed a city council scam, won awards. She promised reach, and she delivered. Within hours, shares exploded. 5,000 in the first hour, 20,000 by lunch, 50,000 by dusk. The Beacon pushed it to their app, their social channels, even a podcast teaser. Comments flooded like a dam burst. "Disgusting human. How dare he show his face? Poor mama and baby. God bless them." Hashtags I'd whispered to Sarah. "Our justice for Aiden, our deadbeat dad," trended statewide, then national. People dug up Marcus's old posts, the fake family photos from 6 years back. Him grinning with a baby Aiden who stared past the lens. Side-by-sides went viral. Then versus now, where was Dad? Strangers doxed his new address in under an hour, condo building, unit number, even the coffee shop he bragged about on LinkedIn. Delivery drivers left fake orders, pizza, glitter bombs, hate mail stacked at his door. Marcus's influence, once wide, once golden, shriveled in the light. His firm's clients, big money managers, saw the tags and bailed. His country club membership got whispers. Old college buddies unfollowed in waves. The Beacon comments hit 100,000. Aiden's championship photo with my quote got shared by a senator's wife. Local TV picked it up by noon. Abandoned Prodigy's mother speaks out. I'd handed Sarah the matches. She lit the fire, and Marcus's carefully built empire burned. By afternoon, his company acted, and oh, how the mighty fell. An email pinged every inbox at 2:17 p.m. Effective immediately, Marcus Hale is suspended pending investigation into unethical conduct. Word spread like wildfire through the glass offices. Security marched him to his corner suite, 2 guards flanking, like he was a criminal. Badge confiscated with a snap, access cards dead. Coworkers he'd bragged to for years whispered behind cubicles as he packed his desk. Framed top closer plaque, monogrammed pens, that fake family photo with Aiden now face down. One junior analyst muttered, "Thought he was father of the year?" Marcus's face went red, hands fumbling a stress ball that rolled under the desk. The firm's public statement hit the wires by 3. "We do not tolerate abandonment of family values." His LinkedIn went dark within minutes, profile picture gone, recommendations deleted by former mentors who once toasted his dedication. Clients pulled accounts faster than he could call. One big investor, a hedge fund whale, left a voicemail. "You're a liability, Hale. Clean out your lies elsewhere." Marcus's polished world, corner office, company car, expense account lunches, cracked wide open, shards at his feet. That evening, a moving truck, budget brand, dented fender, pulled up to his fancy condo 2 states away, the one with marble counters and golf course views he'd flaunted on social media. Lydia, the new wife, blonde, always smiling in his posts, perfect teeth and designer bags, loaded boxes herself, face stone, hair in a messy knot. No movers, just her in yoga pants, hauling designer suits and kitchen gadgets. She'd read the article at breakfast, eyes widening at every line, then played the recordings on loop, Aiden's tiny voice crying, "Dada come," my broken whispers. A neighbor watering plants overheard her on the phone, voice ice. "You lied to me for years, Marcus. That boy's not yours to claim. He never was. I married a man, not a parasite." She slammed drawers, tossed his dad of a genius shirt in the trash. Within 48 hours, she was gone. Wedding rings clinking on the granite counter, note in Sharpie, "I deserve better than your sandbox of lies." Marcus came home to silence, key scraping an empty lock. Lights off, echo of his footsteps. Closet bare, hangers swinging. Fridge humming over a single takeout container. He stood in the middle of the living room, tie askew, staring at the indent on the couch where she used to sit. No dinner waiting. No, "Honey, how was your day?" Just the article open on his laptop, comments still pouring. Pathetic. Karma's a genius, too. His empire of image, built on my sweat, Aiden's pain, collapsed into dust. And for the first time, the man who abandoned us had nothing left to abandon. But he fought back dirty. Next day, a slick PR firm's name popped up on his profiles. Comments vanished in waves. Poof, gone. Negative articles buried under paid ads. A new website launched overnight. MarcusHaleAdvocate.com. Fake photos of him at special needs events. Doctored images with kids who weren't Aiden. Captions about silent sacrifices for my son. Blog posts. The truth behind the smears. I never stopped loving my boy. He painted himself the victim, the self-sacrificing silent father, smeared by a bitter ex. Money poured into bots liking his posts, burying the truth, but people saw through. Screenshots spread faster than deletions. Photoshop much? Liar. The harder he scrubbed, the louder the truth screamed. Marcus scrambled, image crumbling, but the evidence was iron. Court papers served, neighbors ready, Evelyn on record. He couldn't run from what he'd done. The final decision is imminent, and the courtroom air felt thick as we waited. Authenticity against fabrication. One last battle for Aiden's peace. Marcus was summoned first, papers served by a bored deputy at his empty condo, door half open, moving boxes still stacked in the hall. He shuffled into court late, wrinkled suit hanging loose like he'd slept in it, tie crooked and stained with coffee, eyes darting side to side, scanning for cameras that weren't there. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair pulled tight, didn't waste time. "Mr. Hale, your lawsuit borders on harassment. One more false claim, and you face sanctions, fines, maybe jail." Marcus shifted in his seat, clearing his throat loud. "Your Honor, I have rights as a father." She cut him off sharp, gavel cracking. "Rights you signed away in black ink. Proceed carefully, or I'll proceed for you." "Ms." Rivera stood calm, clicked the remote. My recordings filled the room, his voice snarling through speakers. "I'll rip him from you." Neighbor's statement scrolled on screen, renunciation paper bold and damning. Marcus's lawyer objected, voice weak. "Hearsay." But the judge waved it down like swatting a fly. He wouldn't stay quiet. Leaned forward, knuckles white on the table. "This is a smear. I supported that boy, paid for everything before I had to leave for work." Lies spilling fast, face red. "She's unstable, always was, kept me from my son." The bailiff stepped closer, judge's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Hale, control yourself." But he kept going, voice rising. "I'm the victim here. She's using the kid for fame." Gasps in the gallery. Miss Rivera played another clip, Aiden crying, "Mama, make him stop." Marcus sneered. "Dramatic editing." The judge banged the gavel again. "Enough." Then his family turned. Evelyn took the stand, hands trembling, but voice steady as steel. I raised him better, but he chose lies over his own child. She detailed the calls, him bragging about silent sacrifices, while I walked miles for therapy, his shame when the article hit. Cousins followed, one after another. Testimony of Marcus laughing at family dinners post-abandonment, mocking Aiden's weirdness, ignoring milestones he now claimed. Even Lydia's affidavit read aloud. He hid the truth from me, said the boy didn't exist. Marcus paled, sweat beading, whispering frantic to his lawyer, who just shook his head slow. "Objection," Marcus barked, standing half up. "They're jealous." Judge's voice iced. "Sit. Down." No escape. Blood turned against blood. Truth louder than his money ever was. His resistance only dug the hole deeper. Every word another reason to hate the man who'd hurt us for pride. Marcus realized it. Mid-hearing, right after Lydia's affidavit echoed through the room. Sweat beaded on his forehead, rolling slow down the temple, soaking his collar. He stared at the document's pile like it was a living thing. My thick report with color-coded tabs, photos of Aiden waiting with shoes, therapy notes stamped unpaid in red, bank withdrawals circled. His lawyer, tie now loosened, leaned in close, voice a hiss. Withdraw or lose everything. Reputation, assets, freedom. Marcus's jaw clenched, eyes wild, but the fight drained fast. Shoulders slumped. He nodded once, defeated. The pen shook so hard in his grip, the ink bled when he signed the withdrawal. Lawsuit gone. Poof, like smoke. The judge nodded, crisp. Case dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Hale will not refile. But she wasn't done. She adjusted her glasses, voice flat as steel. Given the history, abandonment, harassment, financial sabotage, this court finds permanent termination of parental rights warranted, effective immediately. Marcus shot up halfway. What? The gavel cracked. Sit, she continued. Furthermore, restitution is ordered. Mr. Hale will pay Mrs. Hale $250,000 for 6 years of therapy, lost wages, emotional damages, payable within 90 days. The gallery gasped. Marcus's face went purple with indignation. That's robbery. I don't have that. I'm suspended. My account's frozen. He gestured wild at the empty seats where his money once sat. This is punishment, not justice. The judge stared him down. No jail time, Mr. Hale. Be grateful. You'll liquidate what you must. Fail, and contempt follows. His lawyer tried. Your Honor, appeal? She cut him off. Denied. Order stands. Marcus stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like a fish, indignation choking him. The man who'd bragged about proper generations now faced selling the condo, the car, the watches, everything to pay a mother he'd tried to erase. The court orders Marcus to sign permanent termination of parental rights. A new chapter for Aiden and his mother finally begins, my sweet friends. And it started in that quiet courthouse room. Just us and the truth. The emotional weight lifted slow, but oh, it lifted. The signing happened a week later, small conference room off the judge's chambers. Marcus sat across the table, cold as winter stone, eyes on the paper like it offended him. No glance at Aiden beside me, fidgeting with his puzzle cube. The clerk slid the document. Permanent termination of parental rights. Marcus's pen hovered, indifferent, then scratched his name quick, no hesitation. Face blank, like signing a receipt. He didn't flinch when the judge stamped it final. No apology, no regret, just ice. He stood, adjusted his vest tight over a belly gone soft, checked his reflection in his phone screen. Hair slick, tie straight, as if he'd just closed a bothersome business deal. Pushed the chair in neat, grabbed his briefcase, and walked out without a word. Door clicked shut behind him. Gone. Forever. We stepped into the hallway, sunlight pouring through high windows like warm honey, washing the cold courthouse marble in gold. Aiden tugged my sleeve, voice small but clear, the puzzle cube clicking soft in his fingers. Mom, do we still have to run anymore? His big eyes searched mine. No fear now, just a quiet hope I hadn't seen in years. My throat tightened. Tears hot, but happy this time, spilling free. I knelt right there on the cool floor, pulled him close, his curls tickling my cheek, his small arms wrapping my neck. No, baby, I whispered, voice cracking with joy. We're free. No more running. No more hiding. Just us. He hugged back tight, body melting against mine, tension draining like water from a sponge. For the first time in months, his breathing slowed, steady and safe. We stayed locked together long, people passing with soft smiles. The toxic shadow finally peeled away, leaving only love and the resilience we'd forged in fire. Weeks later, peace settled gentle. Aiden slept through nights, puzzle cube on his nightstand. I quit the 3 a.m. cleaning, took a day job at the academy library. Quiet shelves, kids' laughter. We walked to therapy hand in hand, no looking over shoulders. Then word trickled back through Evelyn, voice hushed on the phone. Marcus had drowned in debt, parties, gambling, flashy cars on credit. Desperate, he'd tried borrowing from Aiden's scholarship fund, calling the academy pretending to be family manager. They laughed him off. Gangsters caught him at a bar, broken nose, ribs cracked, left bleeding in an alley. Now he lived in a rundown motel, walls stained, roaches skittering, coughing blood from some illness doctors wouldn't treat without cash. His proper name meant nothing. We didn't gloat, just closed the door on pity. Aiden asked once, "Is the strange man okay?" I kissed his forehead. He made his choices, baby. We made ours. A child once abandoned becomes a prodigy, and a mother pushed to the brink still raises her son into greatness, not because of his father, but because of her love and resilience. Did you like my story, dear one? What city are you watching from tonight? Drop it in the comments. I read every one, and it warms my heart knowing you're there. If this touched you, support me with a super thanks so I can keep sharing these real-life journeys. Your kindness means the world. Thank you from the bottom of my soul for your amazing love. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. On screen, 2 new stories I know you'll love. True hearts, just like yours. So many more on my channel. Hit subscribe, ring that bell. See you in the next one, with all my love and respect.